Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture. And coming up today, we're going to give you some details on MVP's new role in WWE. We're going to talk about Tony Khan banning Hulk Hogan from AEW. And we're also going to talk about the rather strange instructions that were given out to the Performance Center athletes that were doing the crowd for Raw, SmackDown and NXT last week.
Plus, could a whole bunch of the WWE releases be headed to Impact Wrestling? And some news on backstage heat for Gronk before he left WWE. This is the news.
Let's begin. Let's talk about MVP. Let's jump into his new role in the company. So MVP returned in the 2020 Royal Rumble. It was reported soon after that he would be, maybe making the odd appearance on camera, but primarily he would be a producer, maybe a road agent, doing backstage stuff for the company, back in the fold at an advanced stage in his career. Well, that has changed. We've got a new report from PW Insider here stating that MVP is no longer working in that backstage role. He is now pure full-time on-screen talent, no longer producing. There's no word on why exactly this change has happened, but it has happened, and I think it's safe to say it's going pretty damn well for the guy right now. He's Bobby Lashley's manager, and that has resulted in an immediate upturn in fortunes for the Almighty, who will face, I almost said Drake Maverick, Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship at Backlash. He's been messing around with Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink as well. He's got a lot of stuff going on, tensions with Lana. He's still a good wrestler. He's a great talker. He's a wonderful character. So I think, and this is purely me speculating, WWE have just gone, holy crap, MVP is still really good. So let's use him on screen. I mean, if we want to have him produce stuff, we can do that later on. But while this guy's still got it, particularly as a character, let's get him on screen. I think this has been good, and he's doing some really cool work. He's one of the best things on Raw for me at the moment, anyway. And man, I'm fired up for Bobby Lashley versus Drew as a result of all this.
Yeah, big fan of what they're doing with MVP. He's a very multifaceted performer, word of the day, toilet paper. He as much as I, would love to see him in a, backstage producer role, and I sense that maybe when this is all over, he will just transition back into that. Yeah, make the most of him right now. Like you say, he has helped them strap a rocket to the back of Bobby Lashley and give him that deserved world title shot against Drew McIntyre, and just, made that whole entire feud a lot more interesting. He's got the tag team stuff going on. He's got the stuff with Lana going on. I can see him, and I think, like as you said there, the fact he can also still wrestle a decent match really plays into their hands, because it's not like he's just going to be the annoying git shouting from the sidelines. You can, as we saw in the main event of Monday Night Raw the other day, just put him in action, and even though it was only like a 3-minute match, it was a fairly decent little match against Drew McIntyre. He can hold his own. He is one of the most valuable people on Monday Night Raw, I'd say, for WWE right now. Like, he's not a drawer, he's not bringing new viewers in, but in terms of making the most of what they've got, I can't think of anyone doing a better job than MVP, and long may it continue.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Like, he when he returned in the Rumble, I was like, all right, this is cool, but whatever. But like now, love the guy. He's doing tremendous stuff.
Just need to bring back that blow-up entranceway that he used to burst out of with the smoke. Love it. He hates his entrance music, doesn't he?
I believe so, yeah. Well, it's a shame. I like that entrance music a lot. It's really good.
How can you hate that, man? But yes, great news for to hear. He's been transitioned fully into a performer's role, and hopefully we'll see lots and lots more of him on WWE TV, because he's doing great stuff.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk a little bit about the WWE releases. We all know what happened back in April, Black Wednesday, what have you. Well, they could, a lot of them at least, be headed to Impact Wrestling. Of course, we've seen a lot in the past of WWE releases headed to TNA, but I sense this is slightly different. Anyway, basically, on last night's Impact, they aired a vignette with a whiskey-drinking figure watching the TV, which showed a news report all about the WWE releases, including the classic Future Endeavours line. Then, images of EC3, Eric Young, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Kurt Hawkins, Mike and Maria Kanellis, and Drake Maverick all came across the screen, and a Bulgarian flag too. As much as, I shoot on TNA in the past for just picking up the scraps tossed away by WWE, this is slightly different, and I think a lot of these guys not only would do well on Impact Wrestling, but just deserve another shot, because all the releases seemed very unnecessary at the time, as we reported.
This was wild. Like, I was sitting there watching little Impact highlights this morning, and it happened across this segment because it was doing the rounds on news sites as well. And it's like, they're just showing footage of all these people, you know, like straight up. Even people who have never worked for them on a full-time basis, like Carl Anderson. Everyone else on that vignette had been there before. Which is why they had available footage of guys like EC3 and Rockstar Spud, because they had long runs there. Eric Young was made in Impact Wrestling pretty much. Interesting use of the Bulgarian flag. Obviously, the only footage we have of Rusev, or Miro, whatever he's going to be, comes from WWE, so they can't exactly use that. But they're teasing something at Slammiversary. The no-compete clauses, I believe, expire on June 15th, which is 3 days before Slammiversary, the big pay-per-view. So this is one to watch, man. You know, they've successfully attracted a fair bit of interest to the product through all of this. It's now on them to deliver something. I don't think for a second that all of those people will show up in Impact. I mean, Drake Maverick's probably still under WWE contract, or going to be given a new one or whatever with the story they're doing, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. A little bit of buzz on Impact, man. And, you know, these people deserve to be paid. So
yeah, and Impact deserves credit as well. They've been doing some great stuff recently. If you've been sleeping on TNA, which has now become Impact, give it another chance, because they're doing great stuff now. They are not the old promotion you may remember them as. And yeah, fascinated to see what they do with this at Slammiversary. Some people, like you say, Drake Maverick, I don't see going there, because I don't think WWE does all this storyline with him and then just lets him go halfway through this month or whatever. Gallows and Anderson, I think everyone kind of feels they're probably more likely to head to somewhere like New Japan, although in the meantime, obviously New Japan not doing shows right now, maybe they could have a little stopover in Impact Wrestling. But yeah, guys like EY, Eric Young, EC3, Micah Maria Kanellis, they can do some great stuff in Impact Wrestling. And I'll tell you what, I've gone from being like, oh, you know what, Slammiversary looks quite good, if I get a chance I might check it out, to I might genuinely avoid spoilers and watch that either live or on a delay the next day, because yeah, like you say, created so much buzz around that and their product with just such a simple vignette.
Yeah, man. It's the power of, 20 seconds or whatever it was. Good for them. Good for them. Good moves.
That's what I always tell my missus anyway.
Hey, there we go, baby. 20 seconds, that's generous. Let's move on to from a good move to a weird move. Tony Khan has banned Linda and Hulk Hogan from AEW shows. Linda, I've written on my notes here Linda McMahon for some reason, but Linda Hogan and Hulk Hogan have been divorced for like 11 years or whatever. But Linda tweeted some very questionable stuff the other day, referring to what's going on in the United States. Look, I'm not going to repeat her tweet. It was gross. It was very ignorant at best. She's since deleted that. But Tony replied to it saying, "You have now joined your husband in being banned from all AEW shows. Congratulations." So we learned there that Hulk is banned as well. I don't know why you would ban Hulk Hogan from your show. I mean, look, Hulk Hogan's a big, bad, racist idiot, right? Fair play. But he's under WWE contract. He's not going to appear anyway. It's a weird little move. Probably just a little dunk from the Sugar Man. Probably just a little flex there. The weekend wasn't great for AEW talent on social media. Chris Jericho made some questionable moves as well. So there's a lot going on at the moment. I wouldn't have expected Hulk Hogan to ever show up in AEW regardless, but Sugar Man gonna Sugar Man, I guess.
Yeah, it's sort of divided loyalties on this one in terms of the fact that, you know, that's absolutely spot on what he did with Linda Hogan. Disgraceful comments she was making on social media, and yeah, no surprise that Hulk Hogan is there. And whilst I do love the flex from Tony Khan, it is slightly caveated by the fact of, right, you two are banned. Mike Tyson, oh yeah, he's on TV almost every single week, it seems.
Yeah.
So we can't, heap praise on Tony Khan, but yes, I think just a boy popper from Tony Khan. I saw that on doing the rounds on Twitter yesterday and was just like, killing the game, mate.
Yeah.
Honestly, can you imagine if Vince McMahon properly just unleashed on his Twitter? Obviously, he does his usual, glowing messages to his talent when it's their birthday and the occasional, I suppose happy birthday, Shane, when it's his birthday. But yeah, never anything like this. I agree with what he did. So fair enough.
It's fun, isn't it? It's just fun. Tony Khan shooting on Hulk Hogan for no reason. I mean, he shot on Linda here for very good reason, of course. But like, just going, hey, Hulk's banned too. Like,
just like, he's like a parent, like grounding people. Like, say another word, and that's another two. He's like, you're banned.
Yeah.
You're banned. You're banned.
I wonder if Sunny will be next. She tweeted some awful garbage the other day as well. Man, I tell you what, the current situation is really outing the horrible, horrible pricks at the moment, isn't it? Like, just shut up, delete your account, and go away. Please.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Right, let's talk a little bit more about heat. And Rob Gronkowski now, apparently there was significant backstage heat, according to Fightful, around Gronkowski before his release earlier on this week. This all centres around that spot at WrestleMania 36. Of course, he was a bit apprehensive about diving off a stage on some blokes until, what is he, 74? 74-year-old bloke went, this is how you do it, pal. That obviously held up filming for WrestleMania 36, which generated all the backstage heat for Rob Gronkowski. And just my personal speculation, probably the fact that he was, given such exposure, given a title, and kind of didn't really merit it. He's just a celebrity. He's just a football guy. That's probably another reason why, talent wasn't exactly best pleased with him. Also, developments with regards what was the original plans for his WWE deal. It wasn't just going to be that stuff around hosting. He was obviously succeeded by a better host in Titus O'Neil and winning the 24/7 championship. Apparently, according to Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer, he was scheduled to potentially compete at SummerSlam this year and also make another appearance, possibly even another wrestling match at a Saudi Arabia show. So it sounds like they had big plans for him, but I think it's best for everyone that he's gone, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't have much knowledge of Rob Gronkowski prior to him coming into WWE, but as soon as he made that ring entrance on that SmackDown where he was dancing to the Jimmy Hart version of the LMFAO song, I was just like, oh no. What is this what is this creature that has invaded my precious hobby? Go away, person, man, baby, guy. He does have kind of an infectious energy and enthusiasm, and I get why he's kind of popular and connects with people, but no, for me it didn't work in a pro wrestling context, and it's kind of a shame because he's clearly a big fan of the sport and stuff, but I think this is for the best, man. Yeah,
I think he's always been a character, let's say, in the NFL. So if you were going to pluck, anyone out of that sport and transport them, especially if they're a wrestling fan, as you say, into WWE, it made sense. It just not while he's still, touting for offers and going with his best mate, Tom Bradbury, to the New England potato farmers. I don't know. I'm not as good as you at that. New England bastards.
The Tampa Bay buggers. That's the one. Yeah, for me, I mean, they really missed a trick on not signing David Beckham free when they had the chance. But let's move to our final story here.
Very quickly, go Colts.
There we go. I, for one, am never forgoing my love of the Baltimore Bastards. Let's go to our final story here. Wrestlers in the crowd, NXT Performance Center men and women surrounding the ring, plexiglass at the shows, making noise. New thing WWE are doing to make the shows a little bit livelier. Got some notes on the rules that have been passed out to them, coming to us from a new report from Wrestling Inc., who says that the people brought in to make noise were told to stay completely separate from the people who are actually doing the shows, the people who are actually wrestling on these things. They are told to go as far as bringing their own packed lunch because we want you to eat in a tent outside and not in the main catering area with everyone else. Sounds like common sense, but remember last week they had all of them run into the ring at the end of the show anyway, so what's the bloody point, lads? There's also a note here. Interesting little incident here with regards to the taping of last night's Raw, which was taped last week. Apparently, people were just low on energy, low on enthusiasm. This was their second day of long tapings. On that day particularly, they'd already gone through main event and 205 Live. They'd used a lot of their energy. enthusiasm was low, people were getting sluggish, so somebody got on the PA system in the building and said, "Hey guys, you're not making enough noise, be happier." And that was to try and G them up, which is kind of a crazy thing. You can imagine Vince McMahon doing that himself, going, "Oh pal, give me the microphone," and cutting a promo on these people to try and lift them up a little bit, but sheds a light on what's currently going on.
Always helpful when someone gets on a loud hailer and tells you to be happier. Oh, I didn't realise it was that simple. However, shout out to Rick Buggs, yet again stealing the show in the crowd, and Malcolm Bivens, nice to see him in the crowd too, on Monday Night Raw. Yeah, I think it all makes sense what they're trying to do here. It does feel kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? But it's disingenuous is the best way I can put it, with them just, being quite clearly just told, this is the guy you cheer, this is the guy you boo.
Yeah.
There's not really a lot of nuance there. Obviously you have the kind of the heel and the face side on AEW. WWE are doing it differently. Some people like it, some people don't. But I'm just glad we have some sort of atmosphere there. And yeah, like you say, it sounds weird telling wrestlers to bring a packed lunch and keep your energy levels up, but yeah, I think that's the best we can hope for right now, and if that's the safety measures they're taking, fair play.
The packed lunch thing is just, it's like your mum setting you off to school when you were 8 or whatever. Here's your apple, here's your sandwich. It's just, I love hearing stuff like that. It's not me criticising the company. I genuinely love hearing weird, almost swore there, weird things like this. It's good. It's good entertainment, man. Particularly at a time when like the rest of the world is so chaotic. It's kind of nice to just have a laugh and take the piss a little bit.
I want to know what's in Rick Buggs' packed lunch. If he's watching this, tweet us. He's a big friend of the channel. Rick, send us a photo of your packed lunch, and it will be the lead news story, I promise.
I'll tell you what's in that packed lunch: metal.
Yes! Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Edward Shirazhands,
legend,
who in response to the 1.728 million viewership number for Monday Night Raw says, if Raw keeps slipping, could AEW and NXT combined beat Raw viewership this year? Yeah,
I think there's a possibility now. Like, I talked it down a little bit at the start of the year, but last week saw decent increases for both NXT and AEW. Granted, that was the product of really good marketing and the AEW show coming off Double or Nothing, which was received very well, but the way things are trending, the way things are creeping, I think that the current situation has accelerated the gap being closed a little bit, and I do think there is a solid chance that maybe we will see a week where the total overall viewership beats Raw. We've actually already seen it in the 18 to 49, which is pretty interesting last week in particular, but yes, I think there's a chance. I'm not saying it will happen 100%, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
I think there could be, it's a long shot, I'll admit. It could happen this week. AEW are obviously doing big numbers at the moment, especially with Tyson, if that can carry on this week. And if NXT takes a big bump, what with it being the go-home show for TakeOver, you could see it. I mean, Michael Hamflett predicted it. I think it was going to happen either last year or this year. And I think, he's spot on. If things keep trending the way they are, it's inevitable.
I've got the answer. Orange Cassidy, peak segment last week, did 1 million viewers when he came into the Battle Royal. Put him on every segment this week. 1 million across the board. NXT does like 700 odd anyway. You've beaten Raw. Orange Cassidy, do it.
If you haven't seen him in that Shot of Brandy episode, by the way, go and watch it. It's mint. Right, second question today comes from Marcus, who says, now WWE is starting to improve on long-term stories. Could we see Survivor Series as heel Raw, Seth and his gaggle of bastards, face SmackDown, New Day, Otis and others, an undisputed era for NXT? Would have said Usos and Roman, ongoing situation aside. Do you reckon that's something that we could see?
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's a tremendous idea. You got the natural heel faction on Raw with Seth and his gaggle of bastards. Add one more to that group, you're good, you're set to go. The undisputed era are perfect tweeners because technically they're a bunch of assholes, but everyone loves them because they're so cool and charismatic. And then you've got SmackDown. You got the New Day and Otis, who are like four of the most lovable dudes in the world. I love the idea. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I like that, and I just like the idea of WWE actually considering Survivor Series before, like, a month prior to the pay-per-view. It's when they suddenly go, right, okay, that's that pay-per-view done with. Survivor Series, brand warfare. It's just like, come on, guys, you couldn't have thought about it. Like, I know, I can see just on Wikipedia what the next few pay-per-views are going to be. Just start sowing those seeds, and then from tiny acorns, giant oaks will grow.
Hell yeah.
There's your thought for the day. Right, the final question today comes from Patrick, who says, given the continuing trend of Nia injuring her opponents, juxtaposed that she is well-liked by the locker room, would transitioning her to an ambassador role, similar to Titus, be the best thing for her?
Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. I'm not one of these people who's calling for her job. I think, mistakes have been made and people have been hurt, and that is awful. But calling for someone's wage to be removed from their life, particularly at this time.
Especially with the current situation, yeah.
Particularly at this time in the world, is, in my opinion, a nasty thing to do and unjustified. Maybe not unjustified, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. I think, for me, the best solution would be to give her the opportunity to learn and grow. Now, she has had several of these in the past, but none would be as severe or as big as putting her back in developmental, putting her back in the performance center to work on her craft and try and work these things out of her game. Because it's a more empathetic thing to do. It's the right thing to do for me if you've invested all this time and effort into somebody, and also for the health and safety and well-being of her opponents. The Kyrie thing was ridiculous. When you saw the footage on Raw, straight away you were like, okay, that's even worse than the reports. For me, the best thing to do is give her the opportunity to learn. Have her drilling with the likes of, I know she's injured at the moment, but like veterans, like Mickie James and people like that. Bayley, Sasha Banks. People, I believe Bayley and Sasha Banks are younger, but they've been obviously wrestling for a lot longer than her. So I've totally rambled here, but you get my point.
Yeah, exactly. I saw Brian Alvarez, Mike Sempervive talking about this recently on YouTube, and they said something similar. They drew comparisons with the Mongo stuff that we've been seeing doing the rounds on Twitter recently, which, while entertaining, you shouldn't be learning on the job that high up in the company. I think that's fair enough. I think, you have a lose to Asuka, then you kind of don't really have anything to do with her immediately afterwards anyway. So either send her to developmental. Sidgwick suggested on the podcast yesterday sending her to like Dr. Tom Pritchard, which I thought was a great idea for, say, 6 months. You can bring her back around Royal Rumble time and really utilise her. Yeah, I think the best thing for her is just training, practice, and that's the only way things are going to change, because right now you're fearful whenever she steps between the ropes with anyone on the main roster, and I'm worried. I said this yesterday on the Raw Review podcast, genuinely worried that something bad, awful might happen with her and another wrestler, and she might injure Asuka, and that could be a terrible thing considering she's just started this championship reign. Right, let's move on to today's, and finally, and I'm stealing straight from Squared Circle here, they are doing at the moment 30 days of wrestlers before they went bald. The latest one, Scott Dawson with a lovely head of hair, and I thought I'd ask our resident baldy on the news some of your favourite wrestlers who went bald, like who got better when they went bald, who looked better when they went bald. Who immediately jumps to mind for you?
Every single wrestler in the world who has ever gone bald, whether as a consequence of male pattern baldness or through maybe a hair versus hair match, has improved immeasurably as soon as that hair has left their head, because when you are an esteemed member of the bald community, you understand the power that this brings. I'm of course rabbiting complete and utter pish, but to answer your question in good faith, Steve Austin, I mean, like, he had the blonde stuff going on before, but when he shaved that head and he took on that iconic look, man, that coincided. It's not obviously not the only reason for his rise and stuff, but it's up there. I think I like Kurt Angle as a bald guy better than I did with the hair as well. He just looks like a scarier dude, like a more intense killer guy. Having a little silly hair for the goofy heel run was perfect, but as soon as he lost that, man, Kurt Angle looked like a goddamn wrecking machine, and that informed some of his best work.
And shout out to Vince McMahon, who of course won the ECW championship as a bald man.
There you go.
Wouldn't have called that. Right, let's have your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. While you're there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for hyphy. Shout outs to the Bay Area today.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE, as I said. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us. We will see you soon.
But not the Golden State Warriors.